Hello everyone. I have got some ideas, 10 of them basically, to help us when we are looking at that blank page and we just don't know where to start or what to do. So 10 ideas, techniques, tips for a blank page. So my first and probably I think one of the best tips that I can give you is to grab an old sketchbook and use those entries to inspire you. So for instance, if we use our sketchbook and we take an old sketch and we decide what we can do to improve it, if you like. Now let me just find the one that I marked out. Somewhere here, she says. Here we go. So let's take this sketch here, for example, that's in this completed sketchbook of mine. So just by pulling out my sketchbook, and so tip 2 is find an old sketch and decide whether you could do this in a different way. Obviously, I did all of this mostly in black and white. In fact, looking at it, I can see what I used. I used the Art Graft soft carbon pencil, which is water soluble. So perhaps I would like to redo this, but use watercolours instead. So you could plan out what colours you're going to use and do this in a completely different way. You might decide that you're not going to use watercolours. You might decide I'll try it in acrylics. You might decide I'm just going to use coloured pencils. But pulling out an old sketch and looking at how you can improve it, I think gives it's an idea. It gives us a starting place. We're not starting from scratch. So that is idea number 2. Number 1 being grab your old sketchbook. Number 2 being find a sketch that you would like to do in a different way, or give a try at doing in a different way. Maybe you come up with 2 or 3 different ways in actual fact. So that is tip number 2. Tip number 3 is to take a picture. Now I have to find the one that I marked. Yes, here we go. So take a picture, and instead of redoing it exactly the same as it was, but using different materials perhaps, it is to take, so that's my original. That actually was done on plein air, basically. So now what I could do is, with my blank page, I could divide it up into 6, even 8 maybe, and I could decide actually I would like the tree and the fence and the sheep like this. Or perhaps I want it the other way round. I still want the tree in front of the fence, but actually what I want is more than one sheep, and I'm going to have them going off into the distance. So I'm going to have 3 sheep. 1s being odd numbers, 3s being odd numbers. Or perhaps we decide we want more than 1 tree. We want 2 trees, a smaller one and a bigger one, and our sheep. So we've still got 3 main things of interest. These are all still in front of this fence. Or what we could do is say, well, actually, I want my fence somewhere else, and I just want one tree on one sheep. So we could change where our fencing is. Perhaps we quite like the idea of having the fencing further back and the tree in front of the fencing, but we want more than one sheep. Or perhaps we decide, actually, I'm going to work in threes. I want 3 trees going down in different sizes. And to echo that, I want my 3 sheep in different sizes as they go further back, perspective-wise. So we can take our one picture that we've already done in our sketchbook and come up with lots of different ways of doing the same thing, and then decide which one we're going to give a go at first. What would that look like? Where are my lights and my darks? Where's my contrast, etc. So, doing some thumbnails from a sketch that we've already done in our sketchbook, idea number 3. Right, what have we got for idea number 4? Oh, okay. Right, so what we could do, I'm going to get a different piece of paper, is, where's my paper? So we could decide to concentrate on one object, one thing, and we could decide that we're going to practice tree trunks, for example. So let me grab some paint, some water, and we're going to need a brush. So let me show you what I mean. Okay, today I've pulled out my Van Gogh size 8 for those of you that want to know. So I'm going to say to myself, right, there are lots of ways to do trees. I'm going to start with sepia brown first of all. So grab my sepia and I'm going to just do a tree trunk. And then I'm going to try adding in cobalt blue, just in places. I want to see what effect I get when I do that. Okay. Then let's stick with our sepia for the minute. We could do our second tree trunk. And we could say, well, actually, there's usually quite a lot of moss and things like that on our trees. So why don't I take my moss green, aptly named, and why don't I dab a bit of this moss green into my wet paint and see if I like that. Then we might decide on a completely different colour. So can I see what this colour is? Bear with, because my palette is dirty and my colours are underneath. Okay. Oh, this is called Earth of Cyprus. Okay. So now we're using a different brown. What happens if I add the blue in to this brown? What effects do I get? And sticking with our Earth of Cyprus, we can add our moss green in, just like we did with the sepia. What kind of effect do I get there? Perhaps I want to do a much lighter tree, a bit like a silver birch, say. So, and I've just managed to get that one contaminated, but it will be fine. Okay, let's take our Titan buff, or titanium buff as it's quite often called, and let's say that's going to be, ooh, there we go, our main colour. And maybe we take a little bit of neutral tint and we see what effect we get with that. I think you're getting the idea. So we could just keep practicing different. I'll dry this off actually and bring it back up so that you can see. Okay, so here we go. Now you can see that all of these trees have got slightly different effects going on in them. They're not wholly dry, but almost. But we could keep going, and we could then have in our sketchbook a little record of different types of tree trunks. So we could also try adding things like some pen marks, for example. So there I've added some pen marks to this one. You could use all sorts of different mixed media to go over the top, but by the end of it you will have your own little collection of tree trunks, and then when you come to do a painting you can make your decision on which one you would like to use for that particular painting. So obviously you have to label up what you've done with each one of them, and I'm just demonstrating this for you right now. But I think that that can be a very good exercise. That's just tree trunks as one object. You could also, if I can yet again find the right page, here we go. So let me move my tree trunks and my water out of the way for a moment. Okay. You could also take, in fact I need to move that as well, a picture that you've done in your sketchbook like this one, and you could say, okay, I'm going to practice bees in lots of different positions, and I'm going to practice bees using slightly different colours. So this one looks like I use lemon yellow, and it could have been neutral tint or it could have been Payne's grey, but anyway, you could decide to use a different yellow and then either a black or a Payne's grey or a neutral tint. You can play around with making bees in lots of different positions and using different colorways. And then yet again in your sketchbook you will have a collection of bees in different colorways, at different angles, that you can use in your paintings another day. So there we go. That's picking one object, or one thing, and doing it lots and lots of different ways in your sketchbook. So that is our, what was that? That was number 5. That's right. Did I do number 4? Oh no, I missed out number 4. Okay, so number 4, we missed one. Number 4 is to do something abstract. Something where perhaps all that we are going to do is use our mark making. Big marks, little marks, small circles, big circles, big dots, little dots, small lines, big lines, rectangles, whatever it is. On this one, I actually divided the page up with some washi tape, the very, very thin washi tape. But it's a good way of just picking a colour palette and making marks. And you can look back on these and you can go, I really liked that effect. I want to use that again. So yeah, doing something abstract and mark making can be really, really useful. And yeah, we've already done the practice one thing, like the tree trunks, which was number 5. So let's move on to number 6. Number 6 is all about playing with your colours. So what you might want to do, and I do this a lot anyway, as you know, but you can do this in your sketchbook. Obviously, I'm doing these on pieces of watercolour paper because I've got my storage box that I'm keeping them in. So they're like colour cards, colour palette cards for me. But you can do these in your sketchbook if you are struggling. You could pick out some colours that maybe colours that you don't normally use, or maybe your favourite colours. You can do some mixes, and then you can also find some other mixed media like neo colours, coloured pencils, watercolour pens, acrylic pens, whatever you want to build up everything that might go with this particular colour palette. And once you've done that, you never know, that might inspire you to do something anyway. So this is a colour palette that I've pulled together ready for this Saturday when I'm doing my Zoom session with my Patreons. So that's the colour palette that I came up with. So yes, if we're not feeling like we really want to do a painting, then use your colours. Your colours will make you feel inspired and come up with a nice colour palette. So there we go. That is number 6. Where are we? So number 7. Number 7. The idea for number 7 is to just literally make some backgrounds. So just like this background is already made for me, and in actual fact this was a background that was already there, and that inspired me to do these daisies basically. So coming up with some backgrounds, they don't have to be one colour, they can be more than one colour. In fact, let me just bring up, where's it going to go? Yes, it will go over the top. You could do a background like this. So it's kind of more of a variegated background, and with some other colour splashed in wet to wet. And then you've got this really interesting background that is ready to use maybe when you're out doing some plein air sketching. That's what I particularly like them for. I'll just lose that again now. So, you know, this is my little sketchbook that I use when I'm out and about. So having a background ready gives me some choices and gets me started when I'm doing on plein air. So there's another idea. Do a few pages in your sketchbook, give them some little background colours. So that was number 7. Okay, where is our number 8? Right, number 8. Number 8, I do have an example in here again somewhere. Okay, so if we look at this one here, this is just lines of colour. Lines of colour. We've allowed them to touch each other. You don't have to though. And then I've just used some mixed media on the top, and I felt creative while I'm doing it. It's a lovely, mindful, calming exercise. I really loved these colours together. pick some colours that you are drawn towards that day, and yeah, do yourself, it's a bit like a little embroidery sampler, I like to think. So do yourself a watercolour sampler and enjoy. Another way to fill a blank page. So that was number 8. Right, what have we got for number 9? Oh, number 9. Okay. So number 9 is about picking a season, finding a reference picture and then a palette to go with it. So let me just change my reference picture a moment. So let's say I decided winter is my season that I've decided to pick. This is a picture from Unsplash. I will link the reference for it down below. But yes, I could say, okay, that's now inspired me. I've picked a season, I've found a picture on Unsplash, and now I'm going to find my colour palette, which, looking at this, I would probably use neutral tint and a brown of some kind, maybe Van Dyke brown, maybe sepia, maybe and then I would also maybe add in a bit of indigo, because then the indigo can be used to help define the snow. So and my bleed proof white. So I would be playing around with those colors, and then I would have my idea. So this one doesn't involve your sketchbook. This is one that is basically just pick a season, find a photograph that fits that season, and or a reference picture, and then go from there. Even if you only take it up to the planning stage with maybe a thumbnail and the color palette that you would like to use. So you could put all of that together with the reference picture in your sketchbook, ready to go another day. So there we are. That's number 9. Number 10, I'm going to need another piece of watercolour paper. So let me just grab a piece of watercolour paper. And I'm going to need some brushes. So let me see. Yes, that one there. And we will have, oh, that one looks fun. That one there. And what else have we got? We've got that one there. And let me see. We have got that one. Oh, that one looks like it's quite interesting. And what else have we got here? Yeah, let's maybe pick you and you. So I've just pulled out, let me get rid of that reference picture. I have just pulled out a selection of different brushes. So this one is like on a slant, so I'm not sure what that one's called. This one looks like a petal brush. It's kind of in the shape of a petal. This one has got shorter, you see it better when I splay it out on here. There, you can see it's got some longer at the top and shorter ones at the bottom. This one just says Jackson Silverline. Obviously this is a flat. This, I believe, is they call a sword or a dagger. This is like an oval shape. And then this one has got very long bit and a bigger barrel for the body. So let me just bring my water back in, and I've got my paints here still. So I'll just use one of the colours that I've got at the bottom here. So let's start with this kind of oval shape. What do they call this? They're not giving the name on this one either. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's kind of an oval shape. And let's use the purple. And I just want to see what kind of shapes we get. We see that's quite nice, but I can also get some straight lines. What happens if I go that way? Do I get like a, hold on. Oh, now that's with it on its side, and you get kind of like petal shapes. I could keep going with that one brush. I won't, but I could. Let me find my tissue. There you are. So let's take this sword or dagger. I'm never sure which way round they are. We'll have a bit of cosmic blue this time, shall we? And so let's just, oh, kind of like ribbon like shapes. I can use it almost like a very fine tip here. What happens if I go sideways? So you could just spend a little while pulling out a few brushes and reminding yourself what you might be able to do with those brushes. Very nice for landscapes. So you know, this one, I'm dying to use this one. Let me have a go with this one. Let's choose a different colour. Oh wow, can't say as I've ever used this one of mine, but yet again, I mean, it goes as thin as a rigger on the thin side. You can get these very nice kind of petal shapes. I don't think I need to carry on. I think you're getting the idea. I mean, it's really just about grabbing some brushes and deciding on, you know, what you might like to try out mark making wise with them, and making a note of which brush it was and what it might be most useful for. So if you're struggling with your blank page, that could be you know, another way of getting started for the day, I suppose. So hopefully those 10 ideas have been useful for you. You know, we've done a few things here. I'll just go through them again. So number 1 was get an old sketchbook out, because it's bound to give you some ideas. Number 2 was to take a picture in your sketchbook and decide to do it in a different way, a different colorway, maybe, or just use a different material medium instead. Number 3 was dividing that page up and doing different thumbnails, taking a picture from your sketchbook and saying, how could I do that in different ways? And even if that's all that you do, you've then got that for another day. Like most of these suggestions, you know, you don't have to take it forward to finishing a painting itself. So number 4 was having a go at something a little bit abstract, just to practice all of your mark making. You know, remembering to do things in color contrasts and different sizes, and just playing in that respect. And if you lay out a little grid using some washi tape, then that just adds some extra interest as well. Number 5 was taking one thing, like our tree trunks or our bees, and just practicing doing them lots of different ways and keeping a note of it for future reference. Number 6 was taking some colours, maybe your favourite ones, just ones that grab your attention that day, and coming up with a colour palette, and then all the different mediums, mixed mediums that you might want to use with it, like Neocolours, pencils, acrylics, etc., acrylic pens. So yeah, playing with a colour palette takes the pressure off. That was number 6. Number 7 was just doing a background of some kind ready in your sketchbook. You could do several backgrounds, and then when you're doing on plein air, you've got a starting point, if you like. Number 8 was, what was number 8? Number 8 was doing our lines, a bit like an embroidery sampler. Number 9 was to pick a season. Once you've picked that season, try and find a photograph on Unsplash or Pixabay and come up with a colour palette, maybe do a thumbnail, so as you've got something ready for another day when you are feeling a little bit more motivated to get into an actual painting. And then number 10 was trying out all those all of your different brushes and seeing what different marks you can make with those brushes, and keeping a note of it in your sketchbook so that that's something that you can look back on and use for future. So yeah, most of those were to do with, you know, getting things out of an old sketchbook, which I think is also just of itself pulling out our old sketchbooks, remembering the things that we've done before, and maybe something that we loved doing, and yeah, let's do it again. But maybe now we've got more skills. Maybe now we can do it in a slightly different way. Will it turn out better? Not saying that it will, but yeah. So there we go. There are our 10 techniques, ideas, tips for if you are staring at a blank page in your sketchbook or you're staring at a blank page in your watercolour pad. There's some ideas for you there to perhaps get you going, get you moving again, and just you know, doing something creative. So I hope that was enjoyable. I hope that was helpful. I'm going to be trying some of those myself. Well, I do use some of them myself, but yeah, when I came up with the idea for this video, I did have to rack my brains a bit, but I think that's good because now I have this as something that I can use as well. So there we are. As always, have a lovely morning, afternoon or evening wherever you are, and also stay healthy, stay safe, stay calm. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you're able to subscribe, and I hope to see you again next time.